Hannah Hally, and welcome back to Icons of Influence, the series where we explore how business leaders, cultural figures, and political heavyweights shape power, markets, and movements. Today, we're turning our attention to a figure who has risen from an Appalachian childhood to the heights of Silicon Valley venture capital, and now the halls of the US Senate, a man whose story is as much about narrative and identity as it is about money and politics. This is the story of JD Vance, author, investor, cultural commentator, and now one of the most closely watched political figures in America. His journey shows us how storytelling becomes strategy, how ideas become currency, and how narratives, if timed and framed right, can launch someone from outsider to influencer. JD Vance was born James David Hamill in 1984 in Middletown, Ohio, a working-class town hit hard by deindustrialization and decline. Raised largely by his grandparents amid instability, poverty, and family trauma, his early life was far removed from elite institutions or political circles. It's this upbringing that became the backbone of Hillbilly Elegy, the memoir that would transform his life. Published in 2016, the book tells the story of Vance's childhood in a struggling white working-class family, painting a vivid picture of social decay, cultural dislocation, and the complexities of what he calls hillbilly culture. But Hillbilly Elegy was more than memoir. It was narrative as influence. Released during a moment of political upheaval and populist rise, the book resonated with audiences trying to understand the roots of Donald Trump's support. It became a New York Times bestseller, sparked national debate, and positioned Vance as an interpreter of America's forgotten places. His rise wasn't just literary, it was strategic. Vance built a personal brand around authentic experience, storytelling, and cultural translation. That credibility would become his passport into elite networks and new arenas of power. After serving as a Marine and graduating from Yale Law School, Vance did something unusual for a political outsider. He entered the world of venture capital. In Silicon Valley, he joined Mithril Capital, a fund co-founded by billionaire Peter Thiel, and later launched his own fund, Naria Capital, in Cincinnati. This move was significant. It positioned Vance not just as an author or commentator, but as a player in the world of capital and innovation. His focus was on Middle America, investing in biotech, logistics, manufacturing, and infrastructure startups outside the coastal tech hubs. It was a smart strategic play. By championing investment in overlooked regions, Vance tied his business identity to the same cultural narrative that defined his memoir: real America, left behind by globalization and elite neglect. He also built powerful alliances, most notably with Peter Thiel, who became both a mentor and a major political donor. Thiel's backing would prove crucial when Vance made his next big pivot from venture capitalist to candidate. In 2022, JD Vance ran for the US Senate from Ohio, a race that tested his ability to turn brand into power. Initially seen as an outsider with little political experience, Vance's campaign was turbocharged by endorsements and financial support from Thiel, and, most importantly, by an endorsement from Donald Trump. That alliance was transformative. Trump's support flipped Vance from long shot to frontrunner, and he ultimately won the seat. In the Senate, he's emerged as one of the most articulate and often combative voices of the new conservative movement. Vance's political messaging blends nationalism, anti-globalism, and cultural critique. He's been a vocal critic of big tech, foreign entanglements, and what he describes as elite liberal dominance. He advocates for stronger family policy, industrial revitalization, and tighter immigration controls, themes that resonate deeply with the populist right. But more than policy, Vance understands narrative politics. He frames issues through personal story, cultural tension, and economic frustration, often presenting himself as the embodiment of the struggles he describes. It's messaging that connects with working-class voters, many of whom feel abandoned by both parties. Like many figures who rise quickly, JD Vance is not without controversy. Critics have accused him of opportunism, pointing to his evolution from Trump critic in 2016 to staunch ally just a few years later. Early writings and interviews described Trump as reprehensible and an idiot, language that stands in stark contrast to his current praise. Vance argues that his change of stance reflects a deeper understanding of the political landscape, that Trump, despite his flaws, recognised and channeled the frustrations of working-class America. But to detractors, it looks like political calculation over conviction. There's also scrutiny of his ties to billionaire backers and questions about how his venture capital interests intersect with his political agenda. As his influence grows, so too does the examination of whether his anti-elite rhetoric aligns with his elite alliances. Yet controversy hasn't diminished his rise. If anything, it's sharpened his brand. Like Trump, Vance understands that visibility, even polarizing visibility, is a tool. Every headline, every debate, every online storm reinforces his image as a disruptive outsider voice challenging the status quo. JD Vance's story is more than a personal success narrative. It's a case study in how influence is built in the 21st century. First, narrative is power. Vance turned a deeply personal memoir into a cultural conversation and then into a political platform. Storytelling, when authentic and well-timed, can become strategy. Second, identity is leverage. Vance's working-class roots are not just biographical detail, they are central to his credibility and connection with voters and investors alike. Third, strategic alignment matters. His partnerships with figures like Peter Thiel and Donald Trump show how alliances can accelerate influence, but also how they shape public perception. Fourth, controversy is not necessarily a liability. In today's attention economy, polarization can entrench loyalty and expand reach. Finally, influence evolves. Vance has been a Marine, a lawyer, a best-selling author, a venture capitalist, and now a senator. Each stage built on the last, layering credibility, network, and visibility into a platform with national reach. JD Vance represents a new archetype of influence, one where storytelling, capital, and politics converge. His rise from Rust Belt hardship to national prominence is not just a tale of personal ambition, but a strategic masterclass in how ideas become institutions and how narratives become power. Whether you agree with his politics or not, his journey offers valuable lessons on the mechanics of modern influence, how to craft it, how to scale it, and how to use it to shape the future. I'm Hannah Hally, and this was Icons of Influence. Until next time, build your story with purpose, align your strategy with your values, and remember, influence isn't just about power, it's about how you use it.